Hello, my name is Annalise Dowd. I'm the Access Services Librarian here at the UMBC Library, and welcome to the Geography 202 Library Research Session. So the main idea about today's session, this video will help you complete your Geography 202 library assignment, learn essential info about the library and research, which will be helpful for your other coursework, and know where to get help when you need it. So a little bit about me, this disembodied voice behind these slides. My name is Annalise and I oversee access services in the library, so basically how students and faculty can access our resources online and in person. I specialize in psychology and English, but teach in a variety of areas. And I'm still a librarian, even though I am librarianing from my living room table instead of the library. Here I have my contact info, my email, as well as my appointment booking, a link if you would like to ask me for help in the future. Just a warning, I recently got a new puppy, and you might hear him running around or chewing on things in the background. He is adorable. His name is Magnus, but he can be quite noisy. So, on to your library assignment. So, today's session is really targeted towards this, and I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet and provide sort of the essential info that you need to get going on this. So, the core thing you need to do for this assignment is to choose a commodity or consumer good from your life and find starter resources on various aspects of the item you have chosen. So specifically, what you need to find are 2 government or other state or formal institutional resources, 2 industry or corporate resources about the topic, 2 relevant timely media articles about the topic, and 2 peer-reviewed academic articles or books about the topic. So today we're going to answer what is the difference between these types of resources, how can we tell the difference, why it's important to use different types of sources, and where and how we can use these sources. So this might be a little bit of review. If you're a second-year student and you participated in library workshops in your first year, but it's important to go over before we sort of expand the notion of what different types of resources are. So something you've likely heard is there are popular and scholarly sources. So traditionally we think of popular literature as sort of diametrically opposed to what is scholarly. An either-or situation. And it's defined as being written by journalists, authors, people who writing is their profession and their primary sole income rather than it being scholars or other experts in their own right. So this is often what we think of as media articles or quote-unquote the media. They're typically aimed at a general audience as their goal is to sell copies and online to sell ad space. They're often visually appealing and can include explicit statements of opinion. So thinking about opinion pieces in magazines and newspapers. So opposed to popular, we have scholarly literature, or often called academic literature as well. So these are written by scholars, where research in their area of expertise is a large part of their job. This material is also aimed at other scholars, so not the public, not even necessarily students per se. And it's often peer-reviewed. So in the description for your assignment where you're being asked to find peer-reviewed articles, this basically means that other scholars in the field have assessed the work through a rigorous process, and it has passed through that process. Typically, books do not go through what we deem the peer review process, although they also do go through a rigorous publication process as well. So taking a look at these resources here, we have a United Nations report, the World Economic Situation and Prospects, a global market report for bananas, and a report about the granite industry. So sources like this might be what you're coming across when you do your research, especially if you're looking on the open web or Google. And the question I'm posing here is, are these popular or scholarly, and can we use them? So as this is a video, you can't answer me right now, so I will tell you. This is what we deem gray literature. So it's in sort of a liminal space between popular and scholarly. It's generally what government reports, industry reports, theses and dissertations, material that's published not for the explicit purpose of publishing, but for other purposes. So say for the UN, the purpose, they're not a publisher per se. They are a large international organization that does many other things. Publishing is just sort of an offshoot of what they do. And so the question, can we use them? Yes, we can. And I will tell you why. So with these materials, we can use them because they are often by credible sources, and we can tell this by the author. So one of the most important things when you're assessing literature is who wrote it. And here I'm noting that for these types of materials, the author can also be an organization. So the same way that you would assess, say, a media article or even a scholarly article for bias and authority validity, it's important that you do so with these types of documents as well. So here I've taken the screenshot from the United Nations. We can see the United Nations report. We can see the little United Nations here. And also from the banana report. And we also have the authors listed from a scholarly article as well. So, why is it important to use different types of sources? Can't we just find a book on your resource and be done with it, or find a single report? Well, it's important to note that the type of information can differ pretty widely between sources. Say if you're looking for some statistics at the federal level, you won't find that in an academic article necessarily, because academic articles are usually focused on one hyper-specific study or review. So for federal statistics, you'll want to look to federal government reports and websites like StatsCan. It's also important to use different types of sources because it's important to look at a multitude of perspectives and voices. So an important thing to do here is what is called lateral searching, looking beyond your source to help you determine its credibility in relation to your research. So an example of this would be if you're looking at an article from a large industry or a lobbyist, they may be providing a biased perspective that will serve their interests. And it's important to look to other types of sources that might critique those sources that you're looking at. Therefore, you'll see a much more well-rounded picture of your topic. So, getting down to the nitty-gritty of searching. First thing you'll want to do is break down your research into key concepts. So here you're looking at one commodity, and that's going to be your place to start. So say if you're looking at bananas, you're looking at t-shirts, you'll want to start with that, but you'll also want to be thinking about how you can break this down into more manageable chunks, because it's quite broad. and we want to find more specific information. So here I'll note that synonyms and related terms to create keywords is important here as well. This allows you to find relevant information, even if the search tool you're using uses different terms for the same idea. So say if you're looking for t-shirts, you might want to look a little bit more broadly at the clothing industry and then be able to filter out information about t-shirts specifically. So an example of this with a little bit more of a complex question is if you were looking at perspectives of indigenous Mayan leaders regarding development in Guatemala. With this topic, you can see how it's broken down into key concepts that we can use as keywords to search. It's also important to note that when we don't specify the time period, we assume it's present day. Otherwise, we might search using that time period, say 1970s, or search using the word historical, etc. This might also be a little bit of a review. Everyone's favorite topic, Boolean operators. So this is how we add terms together and how our databases, catalogs, our search tools can make sense of our searching. So and makes your search more specific and narrows down your results. Or searches for clusters of related terms and broadens the results. So an example might be if you're looking for something within the realm of women, you might search for women or woman or female or feminine. Using an asterisk or a question mark does what's called truncating your keywords. So if we have the word book with an asterisk, you will find books, booked, booking, etc. And something that's important to note as well, and something that's helpful even for Google, any sort of search tool, is using quotation marks for phrases. So here we have United States. We're going to use quotation marks around it so we find United States as one phrase rather than United or States. So seeing this in action, with and, if we're looking for indigenous Guatemalan leaders and development, we'll find sources with both terms included. If we're looking for indigenous Guatemalan leaders or development, we'll find sources with either of the terms. This means that we'll find everything with the term development, and that's probably going to be a lot and maybe not necessarily relevant to your research. So, jumping into using the library. So you might not necessarily be a new student. You might be well versed in the library. If so, take this as a simple refresher. If not, here is your general intro. So there are three main ways to search using the library. So first we have the general search, which is effectively like a Google of the library, in that it searches nearly all of our resources that we hold. So articles, books, newspapers, etc. So while this is a good place to start, it might be too broad to only use, especially if you're looking at a broad topic. You might have to be filtering through many relevant search results. Then we have the catalog, which is basically akin to what the card catalog used to be back well before your time, probably. Oh, there's my puppy. Which you can use to find academic books and some government and institutional reports. Then we have our database tab, which you can use to find subject-specific databases, to find scholarly journal articles. Some also do have newspapers and other types of documents as well. We just primarily think of it as a place to find those scholarly, peer-reviewed academic articles. So a little bit about the catalog. The general search is very similar to the databases, so I'll be going over that with the database section. But the catalog is a little bit different. So here at the library, we have print books and we have ebooks. Both are available currently. Here, when we do a search, we can see that we can request a print book. It can be sent to any campus or your location if you're a distance student, so that's important right now in our current context. You can also, of course, request it if you're on campus or in print storage, that it's available for pickup in print storage. Here you can modify the search to find only ebooks in the case that you need something quickly, you need it online, you're not located in print storage. So here we can see how we can limit to ebook in terms of material type. So if it's a late night, you're stressed out, you need something right now, that's a way to be able to get it. And here we can see where we can access the ebook where it says connect to the online resource. If you're off campus, which most of the time you probably will be this semester, you'll be prompted to log in with your UNBC username, and it should only ask you once at the start of your session, and then should push you through to content throughout the session of your research. All right, a little bit about searching database. So the first step is choosing the appropriate database to search. So what I recommend is looking to the subject-specific databases in the Browse by Subject area, and you can choose the subject database that your research category falls under. These steps that I'm outlining here in terms of searching databases also broadly apply to all databases as well as the general search. So keep that in mind as well. So with this class, it's fairly interdisciplinary. So it means that there could be multiple databases that could be helpful and relevant to you. And here's a list of perhaps some of the most relevant depending on your topic. So looking at the areas of social sciences, and also, again, multidisciplinary due to the nature of this type of work. So always use the advanced search when you're in a database. This allows you to use your concepts from your concept mapping, so using those search terms. You can use multiple boxes with either and or. And here, I always recommend to start small, so start with 2 terms and then add more. If you're too complex at first, you might end up with nothing right off the bat, and that can be a little intimidating in terms of getting started with your research. So the next step is to refine your search parameters to get more concise results. So you can refine by the date, type, language, or subject. And this is something, if you're using the general search, you can also refine here too. So definitely take a look at the left sidebar of the general search or a database to be able to limit your search, especially if you're getting a lot of results. Then there's step 4, where you download the article so that you can actually read it. Most databases allow you to download the full text of the article. Take a look for anywhere that says PDF and has the little PDF symbol. You can also look for the cite or citation button to export the citation, or you can just take a look at the citation in the browser window. And of course, it's always good to double check because automatically generated citations can have issues and can be a little funky and need a little reworking, but it can be a good template to start from. So what about Google then? Google actually can be your friend, especially in terms of finding government and industry publications. So government information is typically available on the open web and is freely accessible. So a search engine like Google is honestly your best bet for finding what you need for this type of information. We can also use some advanced searching to optimize our Google search. So the Boolean operators and tricks that I discussed earlier in the video can also be really helpful in Google. So putting a phrase in quotation marks, etc. Just a couple things to keep in mind, though, with Google. So Google does learn what you search for and what you click on. Google also does attempt to keep you from actually leaving the search results page wherever possible. And Google is often a better experience than other search engines. So that's why we use it on a daily basis. But definitely remember that Google knows that it has a corner on searching the internet. And this might mean something in terms of the results that you're getting. So it's not necessarily a perfectly objective search. Another way to be able to find relevant resources as well is something called citation mapping. So essentially this is looking to the work cited to find other sources in the field that are relevant. So here we have an article and we can see the citations. We can look for this particular article or book in order to find this related material. With the title and citation, we can either search through the library or Google Scholar to see if we have access to it. A little bit about Google Scholar, because you might be wondering about that as well. Quite a few students use it, and as a librarian, I have some issues with it, but also it can be really helpful for certain things too. So essentially Google Scholar allows us to search the open web for academic articles, which can be great. It also means that you might be getting a lot of results. So here we have 3 million results for forestry. That is too much to be looking through. One thing that it is really helpful for, though, is this citation mapping. So being able to put in the title of an article or book, and not only seeing the citations in the article, but seeing who cited it as well. This allows you to almost do future citation mapping to see who has cited it and what more current research looks like. If you're logged in through UNBC, if we have access to it, you can see the Get It at UNBC button with Google Scholar as well, which is a very handy feature. A little bit about APA style, which you're being asked to use. It's the citation style created by the American Psychological Association, and the intention is that it's useful to psychology and social sciences researchers, so sociology, political science, social geography, etc. What's especially helpful about it is that you're able to see the author's cited work at a glance in the text. And the APA publication manual provides guidance for citation and paper formatting. So that's sort of the core reason for its existence. So there are sort of two types of citation within APA. There's in-text and then your references. You use in-text citation for direct quotations and for paraphrasing. In-text citations include the name, year, and page number. And so I have some examples here of what that looks like. You'll also need a reference list at the end of your paper when you're citing with a traditional paper. So this is what you're going to be using for this particular assignment. And here I have an example from a citation for a journal article. So for your library assignment, when you're citing your sources, it should look something like this. Because for different types of material, it can look a little different. It's always good to double check with an APA resource. So aside from the actual manual, which we have physical copies at the library, I typically recommend looking to an online guide that are created by librarians and writing help professionals to use as a reference. Often you just need to know the type of material that you're citing and then look for an example to use as a template. That can be a lot quicker than looking through the entire manual, especially for smaller assignments such as this. So just a quick little bit about the library during the strange times that we live in. For updates, check out the library COVID information portal. We keep that updated with information about our space and online services. It's also important to note that even though we are in COVID times, we still are providing interlibrary loans. So if you come across something that the library doesn't own, place an ILL request and we'll see if we can get it for you. So right now we are doing ILL for electronic material, so journal articles, book chapters, theses, and dissertations. We're currently not doing print ILL, but that could change depending on other libraries, what they're doing, and the our COVID context. We're still here to help in many ways. You can ask librarians for help via text, email, and also chat on the side of the library website. You can also book appointments with librarians, such as myself, at this button here on the library homepage. And this is what it looks like. You can see the different librarians, their specialties, as well as their availability. Right now, all appointments are online and held virtually, so all students can access our services. One of the last things I'll leave you with is that sometimes you have a question after research help hours. And in that case, check out our research FAQs and see if your question has been answered before. You might find the help that you need by checking out our FAQs. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be seeing you soon at the in-class Q&A. Thanks.